Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the Queers of Time podcast.
I'm Matt.
I'm James.
I'm Kenny.
And I'm Kat.
And this is a podcast to talk about all the gay stuff in the Wheel of Time.
Because we're gay and we like the Wheel of Time.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to. Oh wait, no, I'm doing our outro.
You're doing the opposite way.
I'm doing our outro right now. Wow, that's where I'm at mentally. And I just had an energy drink, so
It's going great so far.
it's going so good.
Yep.
As always, thank you to our feral venerators of Sauron, Lurks, Morshadi, Charlie, and John. Thank you so much for your support on this podcast. So this week, Kat and I are watching Rings of Power. We just watched Rings of Power Season 2, Episode 2. I don't know the title of this episode, but that's easy to remedy.
That would be important to look up, huh?
One moment. We're totally prepared.
Please hold. Please hold. My God, what is it called? Okay, Where Stars Are Strange is the title.
Sure.
Where Stars Are Strange.
Okay.
That's a decent title. It's not bad. I get it. I see it. That's fine.
It's a little odd, but okay. We're gonna go ahead and go through. Looks like there are 1, 2, 3, 4 main plot lines here. And we'll go through each of them. We're gonna start with, let's see here, Nori, Poppy, just to dive right into it. Nori, Poppy, and the Stranger, as well as this Dark Wizard, who we were very confused about last week, but I have some new thoughts on this week, and I think it will clear up some of our confusion here.
I hope so. I'm interested to hear this because.
Well, once you realize, or what, for me at least, once I was like, what if? Oh, fuck. That makes sense.
Okay, it's that kind of thing. So it's like
it's that kind of like, okay.
Gotcha.
So we have Nori, Poppy, and the Stranger are continuing their journey. The Stranger is looking for a stick. They have to go a roundabout way through the desert, which risks them like not having enough water. They mysteriously find a well, or they find a well that turns out to be a trap. You have the Dark Wizard who is trying to hunt down the Stranger before he can like wake up, and he has these people in insectoid helmets that are able to help. I think they look insectoid. I don't know if that's just me.
I think so too.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're like Shan-Chan helmets from Wheel of Time a little bit.
Yeah.
They're rejected versions of Shan-Chan helmets.
Exactly. They're Shane versions of
yes.
Shan-Chan helmets.
So he has these warriors going out after him, and they have this big fight, and it ends up with the Stranger summoning this giant sandstorm using a stick that he found, but it's not the right stick. And he loses control, and essentially Poppy and Nori get Dorothy'd.
Yes.
Like they go up in the tornado.
That is an excellent way to describe it.
So my thoughts on this Dark Wizard, Kat, get ready.
Okay.
What if he's just one of the Nazgul?
Oh, okay.
Because the Nazgul, there are like wizards among, like the Witch King of Angmar was a sorcerer.
Witch King of Angmar was a sorcerer. Oh. Now that would be interesting. I'd be very into that.
See?
Interesting. Okay.
I don't think it's the Witch King of Angmar because we aren't in Angmar.
No.
But
that wouldn't make sense.
I don't know many histories of the Nazgul. But it makes sense that he would be one of the men to receive the Rings of Power.
Yeah. And that would also be a good way, because right now, like one of my main critiques about this particular storyline is it feels very disjointed from everything else.
Yes.
Like it's very separated, and it would be nice to have at least a thread of connection between this storyline and everything else. And that would be an interesting one. I'd be into that, actually.
That would work.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it would actually bring people together. He would be one of the rings of men, or he would be one of the men receiving the rings of power.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we already saw, like, it's coming soon, because we saw that Durin at the end of the episode already got a missive or letter or whatnot, summoning him to Eregion, or summoning the dwarves to Eregion for the rings. So
right,
it's coming.
Something is coming.
Yep.
But yeah, that was my thought. I was like, okay, because he was referring to the stranger as the Istar.
Yes.
Which makes me believe that he is not one of the Istar himself.
Yeah.
Themselves. I don't know words are hard.
Words are hard.
But the credits still call him the Dark Wizard, and the behind the scenes call him the Dark Wizard, and I'm just like, Wizard is a very specific title.
Yes, and I understand why they may do this, because it's the easiest for people who are not like big Tolkien nerds like me and James. They don't know any different. Like, it doesn't mean wizard is like someone who can use magic. It's not, like they're not aware of a difference. For us, the big nerds, we know that there is a difference. Like, wizard is a very, like you said, very specific term that only applies to literally a handful of people. But it makes sense that they would use that as a way of describing this person who is very specifically not named, and not a lot of information is given about them. I'm assuming because there's going to be a big shoe dropping at some point about who this person is.
Right.
So it makes sense. I get it, but yeah.
I mean, if I just look at it as him being one of the people that receives the rings of power for the men, I'm down.
Yeah.
Like, that solves all of my problems. I don't have an issue. I'm very happy with that. So
yeah. Yeah.
We also saw the return of the evil witch lady, which is also from season 1, who is also known as, whose official title is the Dweller.
Yes, which, okay.
That's cool.
That's cool. Where does she dwell? I'm interested. I want to know more about her.
Really? Is she your type?
Oh, not really, but
okay.
Mysterious women generally are my type, is the thing. So, I guess.
And then we have the guy in the insect armor named Brank, or Bronk, or Brank.
Brank, I think is the spelling.
It's Brank, but the A has the little triangle over it.
Okay, so maybe Bronk?
Bronk? Strong Bronk.
Strong Bronk.
But he's the leader of the insect armor people.
Yeah.
Can we just talk for a minute, going back to the stranger, about a Gand?
Yes. So, no joke. So when they said they were talking about the Gand, and then the stranger was like, wait a minute. And he like pauses and gets serious. And I was like, because just before that, he was like talking about names and how like you're not given a name, names just come to you. And I thought for a second he was having a revelation. He was like, Gand, wait, what about Gandalf? Like, that's genuinely what I thought was going to happen.
I just was like, what the fuck is a Gand?
Yeah. I've never heard that before.
I have not either. Let's Google it really quickly.
Is this a thing? It's probably a thing and we're just not aware of it. But still.
It's kind of... no, it's not a thing in Tolkien.
It's not a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it like a real world thing?
Yes, it's a Norse word for staff.
Okay.
So like it makes sense, but it's not a in-world Tolkien thing.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I was convinced that we were like, oh, okay, so we're getting, is this the moment? Is this the realization that his name is Gandalf? Like he's remembered something? I don't know.
His name means staff elf.
Exactly.
Apparently that's what Gandalf means, which is staff elf.
Staff elf. Well, there you have it.
There was a cute, like Travis, my partner who I was watching this with, said when I paused it to get one of the speeches, he saw that one of the, because I like to take notes. My notes are detailed.
Yes.
He saw that Poppy's last name is Proudfellow and Nori's last name is Brandyfoot. and their descendants probably marry and become the Proudfoots.
Yeah, I think so too, which is super cute.
That is super cute because I did not put that together at all.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of that, but that's very cute. In general, I am very charmed by the dynamic in general, honestly. Like it's more my confusion more lies with my issue more lies with like I just want to know what's going on.
Right.
I'm just curious about what's happening, but the dynamic itself, it's very sweet. I like it. I'm happy with it. It's a nice obviously now it's getting a little bit more intense, but it was a nice sort of chill vibe to it, you know?
Yeah, no, it had a nice, like, this story had a nice vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
It got a little more intense as they found the well in the desert and they just had this bell ringing.
Oh my god.
And I was just like, y'all are not paying attention to this bell enough.
And they kept looking back at it and I'm like
it is clearly a trap.
no one's going to do anything?
But yeah, no, I was like, with the bell ringing of the trap for the well, I was just like, this is an interesting trap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they and I mean it does show that they're whoever is hunting them is quite smart because they calculated that like, oh, they're going to figure out that we're following them. What's the most likely route that they're going to take? They're going to go through the desert.
Right.
You know? So whoever these insectoid weird armored people are, there is some serious strategy to them. But yeah, hearing the bell going off and them just sort of like sitting there, I'm like, guys, come on. I understand. I get that you're trying to help him, but like maybe hide and then help him. Maybe do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Speaking of hiding, how good was it when
yes.
I was gonna go ahead.
We were literally gonna say the same thing. You go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, I was just saying they had to hide really quickly because they heard hoofbeats, and Nori and Poppy hid super quickly, and then the stranger just looked around and was like, "What? Where did they go?"
Yeah, it's a very good callback to the way the Harfoots, generally speaking, just can like blend in with their surroundings.
Right.
It's also very true to like Hobbit lore, like halfling lore. In Tolkien's, in like the books, especially about how, you know, halflings, we don't notice halflings in hobbits because they're so good at hiding. And so they're there, but they're really well hidden. Yeah, I just thought it was, I like that aspect of the Harfoots.
Yeah. No, I really, really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have anything? It was a little bit of a quiet episode for these three.
Yeah.
Like, not too much happened with Nori, Poppy, the stranger, and the Dark Wizard. I liked the little bits of the Dark Wizard that we got.
Mm-hmm.
Provided me with a little bit of moment of clarity, so I'm happy about that. But otherwise, we didn't really have that much for them this episode.
No. I'm assuming we're going to get, like, this was a sort of in-between episode for them, and where the bulk of their storyline is next episode is when we're going to get into their stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking more about, like, people that had an entrance, we finally got to see the dwarves.
Yes.
So what kind of happens with the dwarves this episode? So first of all, there was a little brain cell thingy in the first episode that the stranger sees, and apparently it's just Mount Doom.
It's just Mount Doom. I know, I had that realization too. I was like, oh, okay.
But anyway, in Khazad-dûm, we have the formation of Mount Doom sending ripples throughout Middle Earth that causes an earthquake in Khazad-dûm and causes the lights to go out so they can't garden or farm anymore, and it ruins their agriculture. We get to see Disa doing a lot of stone singing stuff, which is like singing to the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And we see a continuation of Prince Durin and King Durin fighting from the end of season 1, where Prince Durin was very mad at King Durin, his father, for kicking out Elrond.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that's kind of the basis of it.
That's kind of it. And then at the very end, like, we see, of course, the message from Eregion to summon the dwarves there.
Right.
For what we assume is going to be the rings. Are the rings mentioned in the letter? I don't remember.
No, I don't think the rings are mentioned, and also they don't mention anything about in Anatar's section. They don't mention anything about dwarf rings, only rings for men.
Yes. Okay. So this is interesting. It's interesting.
So yeah, what do we have to say about Khazad-dûm?
Yeah, this was my favorite plot line of the episode. I like this. This spoke to me the most, but that might be because I like Disa a lot. So
yeah. I will say again, seeing how much greenery in Khazad-dûm and all of that stuff, like in season 1, it just made you really sad for what actually happens to Khazad-dûm, and we know what actually happens if we've seen the Fellowship of the Ring or read the Fellowship of the Ring. You know what happens to Khazad-dûm, and we're really seeing that decline and that end times of Khazad-dûm happen in this episode. Like we're seeing the beginning of it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's happening already. I wanted a little bit more time of seeing Khazad-dûm in its glory days, but
right.
It makes it makes sense. Of course,
it makes for good television.
Absolutely, it does. But yeah, I loved seeing the stone singing again. It's like it reminds me kind of earthbending. For if you've seen Avatar: The Last Bender, you know what I'm talking. The Last Airbender, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I think, and it also makes me sad because that is something that has also been lost by the time we meet dwarves in the Fellowship of the Ring and the books beyond that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know that much about the dwarves in Tolkien's Legendarium, but this feels right to me, so I don't know if stone singing... Let's see. Let's Google it really quick. Tolkien stone singing. Dwarves. Okay, this is not, getting me anything.
It's not being specific?
It's not being specific enough, but... Yeah, I can't see anything about whether or not this is an actual power that the dwarves had or if it's just created for the show, but either way, it feels nice.
Yeah, it works and it makes sense. It makes sense that this would be something that the dwarves have.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that it's no longer working is yet another, it's another sort of clue to the spreading of Sauron's influence across Middle-earth, and also it's yet another piece of evidence of the decline of, like you said earlier, Khazad-dûm and everything like that. And their very connection to the stone and the mountain and everything like that. And it's just, it made me sad. It was beautiful to see, but it made me sad.
Yeah, I will say, these are very legit powers.
Oh yeah,
they are showing that. It looks like actual magic is being performed in some way, shape, or form. And I don't know necessarily how that's supposed to look or what it looks like. I don't know, but it looks really cool.
Yeah.
I will say I did get mad at King Durin for blaming the Stone Singers for not being able to find a safe path. And I'm like, they've provided for apparently 9 centuries uninterrupted, and they can't do it one time.
Oh my God.
One time in 9 centuries, and you're causing problems now?
Yeah.
Fuck all the way off, King Durin.
Seriously. Maybe consider that the problem is larger than you think it is.
Right.
Maybe that's what's happening.
Right. I can't.
Ugh. It's, both, Prince Durin less so, but King Durin was working my nerves this episode because...
Oh my gosh.
Girl. And also, I do love that Disa was like, no, I'm not giving you an inch here. If you want to find out how your son is doing, you go and summon him or speak to him.
Mm-hmm. You go talk to him. Yeah. You're an adult.
Exactly.
Disa was trying to speak some sense into King Durin, and it just did not work because stubbornness is apparently strength.
Apparently. Great.
What a stereotypical, cishet male thing.
I hate it. It's the whole suffer in silence bullshit. And it's exactly that. It's bullshit.
I will say, I like that Prince Durin doesn't get an audience with the king, but Disa does because she's the leader of the Stone Singers.
Yep.
So that's very cool.
Yes. Yeah, it's obvious that her standing in within Khazad-dûm has not changed significantly, because she is still with the Stone Singer. She's still out, like that's who she is allied with. But obviously, we see Prince Durin's standing in Khazad-dûm has dramatically changed, because he is like working with the commoners essentially.
Right. So I was very confused about that. Like, how long has this been? Like, it can't have been more than weeks or something.
I doubt it. I doubt it. And it seems like, I mean, yeah, I doubt it. And also, what a switch for like the way that the other dwarves were treating Prince Durin. I was like, okay, he's been like, sure, him and his father are having some difficult times, but he was still your prince for all that you like,
right?
And all of a sudden,
are they taking out all of their problems with the monarchy on Prince Durin?
It seems like it. It seems like he's like a super easy target for them to just like air out all their bullshit.
Right. Like, I just did not get that at all. I did not understand. I didn't understand why Prince Durin was having to work the mines. I didn't understand why the other dwarves were so quick to like make fun of him and point blame. Like, who the fuck do they think they are?
Yeah. It was just overall like it was odd. It was very odd.
I will say Durin and Disa are again relationship goals. Like,
yes.
As always, I love it.
Yeah.
I love them.
They're so sweet. I like them a lot together. They're very sweet. They complement each other really well. And Disa is like she is very good at balancing Durin, and being able to, like she is not afraid to speak her mind with him.
Right.
And let him know when he's also being a bit of a tool,
Right. Speaking of calling people out on being tools, we had Disa calling out King Durin a little bit when he asks, "Are you really going to make me ask?" And she says, "Do you mean your grandchildren?" Instead of like it's obvious what he's asking about, but I had that line noted because I thought it was very funny.
It was very funny. And then the audacity for him to say, "Don't make this more difficult than it already has been." She's the one making it difficult? Disa's the one making it difficult?
She's clearly the problem.
Like, what? Oh my god.
The way this show treats some women, like it lifts them up and then is like, no.
It's so upsetting, James. It's becoming a trend, and I don't like where this is going. I don't like it at all.
I was on such a roller. Let's just go into Galadriel, Gil-galad, and Elrond.
Yeah,
and
it's a very natural, I think, jumping off point because
and a little bit of Círdan. Because oh boy. So it starts out with Galadriel having a dream while in talks with Gil-galad about the war plan and everything. Galadriel like kind of checked out of the conversation there. Gil-galad actually takes her advice, which is great. Gil-galad then Galadriel wants to go to Eregion, where Celebrimbor is, to kind of check on him and see what's going on. Gil-galad doesn't want that because he's worried that Galadriel will be swayed by Elrond, but will be swayed by Sauron. By Halbrand/Sauron. I'm saying Sauron like she does now.
Yes, you are. I noticed that.
It's not Sauron, it's Sauron.
Sauron. There's a little bit of an L to it.
Anyway, Gil-galad is wary of Galadriel going alone, so he agrees that she can go, but only if Elrond goes. Galadriel tries to convince Elrond, but he's not being swayed by her. He then talks to Círdan, who has a very good speech, admittedly, about the rings.
Yes.
And then Elrond agrees to go, and the twist is that Elrond is now in charge of the party.
Yeah.
So
okay,
let's just start with the very beginning, which is the dream sequence.
Yes.
I thought it was very cool that we got the ringverse.
Yes, me too. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting to get that until much later on in the series.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was not expecting to get a reference to that at all. And so I was very delighted to hear it. that entire dream sequence was really well done.
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
Like we got the 3 rings for the elves.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the ring verse specifically.
3 rings for the elves under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die.
But we didn't get the last part.
We didn't get the last part. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we did get the other parts, the other 3, which it's interesting. It's like we're seeing kind of maybe Galadriel is seeing a little bit into Sauron's mind.
Mm-hmm. Which is something she mentions later on in the episode as well.
Mm-hmm.
In when someone, I believe it's Elrond, that says he's perceived your mind. He is able to sculpt it. And she says, yes, but I have also seen into his.
Right.
And so it's, yeah, very interesting.
I will say, like, 1 second here. She tells I keep saying Elrond. She tells Gil-galad
Mm-hmm.
that that Sauron wants to craft rings, and that to do that he'll need Celebrimbor, and that's the kind of insight that I'm looking for from Galadriel.
Yes, exactly. Finally.
This is who Galadriel is. Galadriel is a thinker. Galadriel is a planner. Galadriel knows what is going on and knows what's up.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say this episode, I may not, there were times where I was still frustrated with him, but I feel like this Gil-galad characterization is getting much better.
So much better. So here's the thing. I found myself really liking Gil-galad in this
Me
episode,
too.
which was weird.
Yes. Yeah, same.
And because Gil-galad is actually listening to Galadriel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might be part of it, is they're kind of like veering off of the path of Galadriel being constantly wrong to Galadriel being right.
Yes.
Because Galadriel is right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is not me being just a Galadriel stan.
Mm-hmm. It's a factual thing.
It's a factual thing. Like, Galadriel can be wrong occasionally, but not in this. They're making it seem like she's wrong all the time, or she has bad instincts.
Exactly.
And occasionally is right. It's the other way around. It's so much the other way around.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, my note literally said Gil-galad agreed to send Galadriel to a Region. What in the world? Yay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was my note.
Yeah. I appreciate, even when he's like not constantly agreeing with Galadriel. I mean, even in him saying, okay, yes, you can go to a Region to check in on Celebrimbor, but bring Elrond with you. Even in that, I was like, you know what? I kind of agree. She shouldn't go alone. You're absolutely right. She shouldn't go alone. Nobody should. Not just Galadriel. Nobody should go alone.
Right. Nobody should go alone. Like, he has a point.
Yeah.
You can't 1v1 Sauron.
No, it's a bad idea.
Even if you're Galadriel. Like, that's my thing. Even if you're Galadriel, you can't 1v1 Sauron, contrary to the Hobbit films where she does.
Yes.
But even then, that's not defeating him. That was just moving him somewhere when he was already weak. So.
Right. Yeah. So that it's it was a little bit more believable then, because it's very, very weak. But still, yeah, it's not a thing you can do.
Right.
And so, I appreciate, it feels like the elves especially are coming more into their own as characters.
Mm-hmm.
It feels a lot more, I don't know. It feels more natural.
Well,
even the dialogue doesn't feel as clunky, I think, as it did last season. It's a little bit smoother.
The dialogue, there is one, so I'll probably read both speeches, but I really loved this one line from Galadriel that's like, since the wearing of this ring, I have felt perceived. Glimpses of the unseen world as dreams unbidden come forth to crowd my waking mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just really well written.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And also I was very happy to see sort of the show's version of the foresight that the elvish ring bearers are given with the rings. And that Gil-galad, like, when Galadriel asks Gil-galad admits that he is also having that. He's also seeing things as well, which, I'm for the most part, I was very happy with this with this entire plot line. It's just the
So we'll get to it. We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there because overall this was a good plot line, but it like ended on a sour note for me. I will say it was nice to see 1 second Googling. Keep my keystrokes in there.
Please,
Camille,
hold.
when you're doing post-production, keep my keystrokes in there so people know that I am typing.
The keystrokes are important. They are crucial.
It was nice to see a reference to the music of the Ainur, like the creation myth, essentially, of Tolkien. Because Galadriel says, Sauron used me, and under his hand I was played like a harp to a melody not of my choosing.
Yes.
Elrond responds, it was entirely of your choosing. Sauron looked inside you, plucked the very song of your soul, note by note. And for the non-Tolkien nerds, Kat, do you want to explain it for the non-Tolkien nerds?
No, you go.
Okay.
You go ahead.
So the reason that songs appear so like are very common in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit is because the entire world was made out of music.
Yes.
Eru Ilúvatar, who is God, created the world by singing, and Morgoth, who was Sauron's daddy, was singing something else and bringing chaos into the world.
Yeah.
So he's the reason that there is strife and everything, is because Morgoth was singing differently. And there were a bunch of other people singing differently with Morgoth, but Morgoth was the leader of that. So
yeah, which is like when you, because they mentioned it a bunch of times within Lord of the Rings. They've mentioned it a couple of times here as well in this show, where they talk about there are more forces than just good and evil in this world,
right.
And that's kind of what they're calling back to. It's that it's not always as clear cut as like good, evil, or there's other forces that are sort of driving and pushing things forward. But yeah, it was a very cool reference. I was laughing. I was picturing Elrond's face, and I was just like, you smug, like
oh my gosh,
the smugness on his face, and I couldn't get past it.
I could not either, because I literally wrote, because right after he says, in choosing to wear these rings, you have all chosen to become his collaborators.
Oh my god.
My note was, Elrond, why are you like this? All caps, you pretentious bitch.
Yes. I think I called him, I think I was like, yeah, he's self-righteous is what he is.
He's so
unbelievably self-righteous. And
he believes he's doing the right thing, which is worse.
Yes.
Which obviously is going into being self-righteous. But
yeah,
he's like a social justice warrior derogatorily.
Yeah. Social justice warrior in brackets derogatory. That's Elrond.
Not like there's a great way to be social justice warriors, please. Like, I know that was a thing, calling people SJWs and having it be a derogatory term, and it shouldn't be. In this case, I'm using it as a derogatory term towards Elrond because he is wrong.
Yes. Yeah, he's wrong. And and that you're exactly right. He's wrong, and he is absolutely convinced he is right. And there's nobody that can tell him anything about it.
Also, I'm just like, who the fuck is this Elrond?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, where do you get off? Where do you get off with this? It's just, I'm genuinely baffled by how he is able to behave.
Like, Elrond is like a baby compared to Galadriel.
Exactly.
Galadriel has lived for thousands of years, longer than Elrond. And Elrond's like, yeah, but you're brash and a woman, so you're dumb.
And so obviously, you know nothing.
And you're wrong. Like, yes, she's brash and a woman. Well, not a woman, but, like, female.
Yes, exactly.
But then my problem is, Elrond goes to Círdan, who is using a shell to shave his face, by the way.
I mean,
good for him.
I love Círdan. I love the casting, the character. I'm obsessed. I really like him.
I love Círdan. However, I don't love that Círdan would read J.K. Rowling.
Well, no, not great.
Because Círdan had this entire thing about, like, creator versus art piece and how you should look at just the art by itself. And I'm like, no,
No.
No, you should also take
No.
into account the fact the person that created it.
I would argue they are a very significant component of something you should take into account when you're viewing any kind of media.
But you heard it here. Círdan would support J.K. Rowling.
Exactly.
But he does give a very good speech about how, like, they don't understand the rings, but it's better to use them, or it's better that the elves have them than Sauron have them. And apparently that is enough to convince Elrond. But, I have a problem because just because Círdan is able to, like, put into words a little bit better than Galadriel,
Yeah.
it's because he's so far removed from this. Like, he doesn't have a stake in this, really.
Right.
He's just getting this nice, pretty ring out of this, and he's like, "This is a nice ring. I love this ring."
Mm-hmm. I can look at all this cool stuff I can do with the fish.
Yeah, look at all this fish magic I can do.
Yeah.
Círdan is wise. Círdan, I don't. Again, googling.
Is he actually the eldest? Is that what you're googling?
Yes.
Okay, I had a feeling because I know we had talked about it when we recorded last.
Okay, yes, he's about 2,500 years older than Galadriel.
Okay, great.
So yes, he is older than Galadriel.
Mm-hmm.
However, Galadriel has seen the light of the two trees.
Yeah.
Círdan has not.
Yes.
The way that works is because Círdan was born in Middle-earth.
Mm-hmm.
Círdan was not born in Valinor.
Yes, which is a very significant difference. It's the difference between someone like Galadriel and someone like Círdan. And it doesn't mean that I guess it kind of does, for elves anyway, that he is less wise than Galadriel. But it really does drive home the sort of point that it's wild that Galadriel is being disregarded as much as she has been.
Yeah. It's just...
Yeah.
Seeing the two... Like, Gil-galad has never seen the two trees of Valinor.
No.
Like, seeing the two trees of Valinor makes you a better elf.
Yeah.
The end.
This is like... and this is not just like us being stands of, Galadriel or whatever. It's a factual thing.
It is built into Tolkien's lore that, like, elves that have seen the trees of Aman
Mm-hmm.
have more powers, are just better, have more insight. Like, they're just better elves.
Yep. No.
So the show is disregarding that.
Yeah.
And it bothers me.
I know.
I will say I was very disappointed with the fact that Gil-galad put Elrond in charge of the company, and I don't understand why.
I don't get it. It's because one episode ago, Elrond took the rings and refused to give them back to Gil-galad, the king, and now Gil-galad is like, it's fine.
Right, like he's so quick to just agree again.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying.
I don't get it.
I'm not calling it sexism, but quite yet, but it is on the road to sexism in my book.
It's getting there.
But yeah, it's not quite sexism in my book yet, but it's getting very close.
Yeah. It's on the road. It's tiptoeing towards sexism, and I don't like it. I don't like the road they're heading down.
It was one thing when they were doing it with just Galadriel, because I've just accepted the fact that they've gotten the wrong version of Galadriel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've just accepted that.
Yeah.
So it made sense that they were doing it with Galadriel, but then now they're doing it with Disa a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like...
It does not bode well. It's not a good sign.
What's going to happen with Bronwyn? Remember Bronwyn? She hasn't showed up yet.
Oh my god. We haven't seen her or Arondir. I like neither of them, right?
Nope.
Yeah. Yikesers.
And we aren't going to see it with Nori and Poppy because, like, that's a different kind of relationship that they have. They aren't in any kind of position of power.
Exactly.
So really it's just Galadriel and Disa, the two female characters that come into contact with powerful people, and both are being dismissed in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
I didn't have anything else on Galadriel or Gil-galad or Elrond or Círdan.
No, just I mostly liked it.
Oh no, I did. The diamond on the Nenya ring is so goddamn big. That is a chunker of a diamond.
It's a very chunky diamond. Very, very chunky diamond.
Like, I am impressed.
Yeah. Yeah. The way that she's able to carry, good for her.
I mean, yes, she does have super strength and stuff, but good for her.
Good for her.
The last one that we have is Halbrand and Celebrimbor, which relatively short, I think.
Mm-hmm.
In the last episode, we saw Halbrand come to Eregion, still in the guise of Halbrand, when he's actually Sauron, and which made no sense because he was, like Galadriel clearly said, don't treat with Halbrand. Celebrimbor kind of sticks to his end of the deal, but then he goes out and talks to Halbrand, and gets duped by him because he's prideful.
Yes.
Halbrand
is able to play on his stuff.
And then Halbrand reveals to him that he is not actually Halbrand, he is Anatar, Lord of Gifts. And that is pretty much it as far as the plot goes for that. But I still, again, I will say it was worth it in the end because the reveal of him as Anatar was really beautifully done.
It was great. It was very, very well done, and it is the way that things played out. It's believable why Celebrimbor would be so drawn in by Anatar. It makes complete sense because Anatar / Sauron / Halbrand was able, like you said, to play upon his pride. And he was like, when he asks if the king has said anything or whatnot, and Celebrimbor kind of gets this look on his face like, oh, yeah, okay. He looks very sad, kind of, and not being acknowledged for the creation. And also, like, his whole thing about, like, being so delighted that he's finally able to create something, which it was really sad, honestly. It made me really sad that he was so joyful that it worked, and this is going to be used to do something horrible, and he doesn't even see it really coming.
Right. And that's the thing, like, the show did a decent job in making me believe that Celebrimbor is proud because he's an artist, he's creating, he has a craft, and he wants to be known for creating something like that's long lasting. And that's very easy for me to put into a real world context because that's how a lot of artists can be. And it makes sense. They don't do that with Galadriel and her pride.
No.
They just expect us to believe that she's prideful, but they don't give us anything that shows that.
Exactly.
So that's I believe very easily that Celebrimbor's pride is letting him get duped by Halbrand. I don't believe the same about Galadriel.
Yeah. They haven't given enough evidence that Galadriel is prideful.
Yes.
They have done a very good job with Celebrimbor, which makes what's coming so much more tragic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Celebrimbor is not in for a good season.
No, he's about to have a very bad time. And I mean, we saw kind of a glimpse of that with the dream that Galadriel had at the very beginning of the episode, of Celebrimbor being basically staked to the tree. And yeah, it's not good.
Right. No. I was happy with Celebrimbor again, at least like sticking to his end of the deal a little bit with Galadriel, but then he gets roped in. So he tried.
He tried. An effort was made, I suppose, but I think it's sad to say, but his kindness won out in the end. Right. Which, it's not a bad thing to be kind, for sure. It's just really unfortunate in this particular situation. So there was a little bit of a scene where you saw chains dragging soldiers away, and I'm assuming those are the messages from Linden.
Yes, that is the message from Linden because we saw the little scroll case.
Right. And so and I'm assuming this was done before Halbrand got to Eregion. And so it makes sense why Halbrand would so blatantly show up as Halbrand, because he was,
It's still a huge risk, though.
Yes,
because the second one of those messengers gets through, like, Celebrimbor will read it and be like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
You would hope. You would hope.
You would hope. But I think Sauron is banking on the fact that he will be able to do what he needs to do. Like he'll have enough time to sort of, by the time everyone figures out the big deception, it'll be too late. Which is essentially, it's very true to what happens in the book as well. By the time everyone figures out that it's Sauron and he's been deceiving everyone, and Celebrimbor specifically, it's too late, and the damage has already been done, and they can't undo it.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be, yeah. I don't know. I feel so bad for Celebrimbor.
Me too. Yeah, because there's such a genuineness, I think, to him, and once again, kudos to the actor. I can't remember his name, but the actor for Celebrimbor is fantastic. I think he's playing him very, very well. There's such like an earnestness to him and a genuineness. And like definitely like there's pride as well, but it's not like, not in a negative way, just in like, as you said, like I think he's like any kind of, like a lot of creatives and artists who take a lot of pride in the work that they do.
Right.
And it's just so unfortunate that this is going to be taken and used for something evil.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked Anatar's speech that he gave to Celebrimbor, calling him the Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
That and having a call back to Feanor, his grandfather.
Yeah.
Like that was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that Celebrimbor invented Ithildine.
Yeah, okay. I was just gonna say, I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. I was like, literally in my notes it says, Ithildine, oh my god, Celebrimbor, you beautiful nerd.
Oh my god, I love it.
Because yeah, I love it.
Yeah. The only other thing I had was, did Sauron summon a storm over Eregion?
I think that's the implication, because if he didn't summon it, he certainly seems capable of controlling it.
Right.
So it may have been something that already existed and he just intensified it. Because it was the timing of it is suspicious, right? Because, like up until that point, Celebrimbor was like, nope, leave him outside. And then it starts pouring rain. And
yeah, I think he summoned something, which we're seeing more of Sauron's powers, which I like.
Yeah, me too. He's being very careful with the powers that he does and doesn't use. Very, very careful. Which is, it's true to him, because he is known for being very cunning and deceptive and manipulative. And we are seeing all of that now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's good. It was a good, like, overall, this was a good episode, I think.
I agree. Yeah.
I was happy with it. I had my problems with the Galadriel of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I always will with this show. But I think overall, this was a really good episode. And it did a lot to establish the world. And I'm looking forward to episode 3.
Yeah, me too. This was kind of my favorite episode of the show since like ever. Like it's my favorite episode that I've seen so far.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Let's see what's in search for next one. The next episode is called The Eagle and the Scepter.
Mm-hmm. Which I think we're getting a lot of Numenor next episode. Which also fills me with a lot of joy, like seeing Khazad-dûm, but also a lot of dread because of reasons.
Yeah, the official description is Isildur and an old friend reunite, Arondir grapples with change, and Miriel faces rising opposition, and Anatar counsels Celebrimbor.
Okay, so we're getting... It sounds like we may not be getting Galadriel and Elrond and whatnot next
That
episode.
would be nice.
Yeah.
Because those are the characters that they're fucking up the most.
I'm not mad about it.
Give me less Galadriel.
Yeah. Listen, whoever thought that those words would ever come out of James's mouth?
Give me less Galadriel so I can be happy. I swear.
I mean, that's fair.
But yeah, that will be next week.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Queers of Time. You can find us on Discord is the best way to keep in contact with us and get all of our updates. You can listen to us wherever podcasts are found, obviously. Please leave us a review if you can. And also we have a Patreon if you want to support us there. it would be very much appreciated. For as little as $3 a month, you can get advanced access to all of our episodes, some behind the scenes stuff, and it would be really, really helpful. And if you donate $10 a month, you get a shout out on every single episode that we have. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for listening to this episode, and we hope to see you again next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all for listening. This was Queers of Time, a Wheel of Time podcast. The music is Dance of the Witches by Julius H.